The best guy I played against might have been, Larry Bird, someone
Yeah.
like that.
How good was
Michael
Bird?
Jordan.
People, I don't think people
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 don't
look at him
appreciate.
and think,
Yeah, they
oh, he's
said,
a
"Oh
white
no,
guy, slow
it's
guy.
the chubby white guy." He wore us out, man. Because he just this muscle here, the one between his ears.
Yeah.
That was his best, because he made the 3 pointers and he had assists and rebounded, steals. He was always at the right place at the right time on the court. One of the great players. I had the opportunity to play against.
Larry Bird did something to NBA legends that LeBron James has never done. He scared them. Not made them nervous or uncomfortable, but genuinely frightened to step on the court. Magic Johnson admitted Bird was the only player who made his hands shake before games. Michael Jordan said Bird was the one opponent who truly got inside his head. Gary Payton called him the most dangerous trash talker alive. And now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has confirmed what many suspected but few were willing to say out loud. Bird reached a level of greatness that even LeBron, with all his success, records and championships, still hasn't completely matched. Coming from the only man who played directly against Bird, then watched LeBron's entire career unfold in real time, that opinion changes everything. And once you hear Kareem's reasoning, you begin to understand why the greatest players in history still talk about Bird like he was something supernatural. What makes Kareem's perspective so fascinating is that he isn't an old legend bitter about the past. In fact, he deeply respects LeBron, his professionalism, his leadership, and his astonishing 21-season run. But when Kareem explains what separates Bird from LeBron, he isn't talking about stats or rings. He's talking about the soul of competition itself, and how the game has changed in ways most people don't even notice. Bird didn't just dominate his era, he terrified it. And according to Kareem, there is a huge difference between being the best player on the floor and being the player that everyone fears most. One makes you great. The other makes you unforgettable. Think about Kareem's vantage point. He battled Wilt Chamberlain in the 1970s, one of the most physically overwhelming athletes ever. He faced Larry Bird and Magic Johnson throughout the 1980s, an era many consider the peak of basketball. Then he transitioned into coaching and analysis, giving him a front-row seat to LeBron's entire career from 2003 to the present. No one alive has a clearer, longer view of how basketball has evolved across 5 decades. So when Kareem says Bird achieved something LeBron hasn't fully captured, you don't dismiss it as nostalgia, you pay attention. Kareem saw Bird's mental warfare up close. He remembers how arenas shifted the instant Bird walked in. Opponents didn't just prepare for him, they built their entire defensive strategy around him as if he were an entire offense by himself. Kareem once described Bird's game with a line that still gives people chills: Bird played chess while everyone else played checkers. And he meant it. Bird could read defenses before they even formed. He saw plays develop 2 or 3 passes ahead. Defenders would think they had him contained, only for him to drain an impossible shot or deliver a pass that shouldn't even be possible. Bird's basketball IQ wasn't just elite, it was eerie. And the most terrifying part? He would tell you exactly what he was going to do, then do it anyway, laughing the whole time. That kind of psychological dominance never appears in a box score, but every player from that era says the same thing: Bird lived inside your head. LeBron's approach is different. He dominates through preparation, discipline, and total control. He studies opponents, memorizes plays, and understands weaknesses better than the players themselves. By the time a game actually begins, LeBron has already calculated every scenario. That's why he's remained elite for over 20 years. But as Kareem points out, there's a difference. LeBron earns respect. Bird inspired fear. When Bird stepped onto the court, opponents felt genuine anxiety, like they were about to be embarrassed. When LeBron steps on the court, opponents feel pressure to execute their game plan. Both lead to wins, but only one creates the kind of stories that still make retired players shake their heads decades later. Then there's the context of the eras themselves. Bird's 1980s NBA was brutal. Hand-checking was legal. Defenders could shove, grab, and slam into players without getting called. The bad boy Pistons didn't play defense, they tried to physically break you. Every team played with that level of intensity. No spacing, no pace and space offense, no protection from referees. Every shot was earned through pain. Bird thrived in that environment. He'd take elbows from Philly, get slammed by Detroit, and show up the next night dropping 30 with the same smooth jumper. Kareem remembers those battles vividly because he lived them. Bird absorbed punishment that would end careers today. Chronic back pain, nerve issues, non-stop physical abuse, yet he still averaged nearly 38 minutes a night for a decade. No load management. No rest days. Just pure toughness and a refusal to let his body quit. And the numbers back it up. From 1984 to 1986, Bird averaged 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting 50% from the field and 40% from three. 3 straight MVPs. 3 championships in 5 years. And he did it against rosters full of Hall of Famers, Magic and Kareem's Lakers, Dr. J's Sixers, and the Pistons. That's dominance in the harshest possible environment. LeBron entered a different world. By 2003, the NBA was global, polished, and carefully structured. In 2004, his second year, hand-checking was banned. Defensive 3 seconds tightened. Driving lanes opened. Physical contact got penalized. It was the perfect setting for an athlete with LeBron's size and speed. Kareem doesn't blame LeBron, he just acknowledges the evolution. And then there's longevity. LeBron's ability to produce at age 40 is incredible, but it's also supported by a modern system designed to extend careers: personalized nutrition, sleep science, recovery chambers, advanced injuries treatments, chartered flights, massive medical staffs. Bud had none of this. Teams flew commercial. Back-to-backs were constant. Sports science meant icing your knees in a bucket. So when people say LeBron's 21 seasons prove he's tougher than Bird, Kareem disagrees. The real question, he says, is, what would Bird's career look like if he had today's medical technology? Bird's career ended at 35 not because he lacked toughness, but because the era demanded physical sacrifice that bordered on insane. LeBron's longevity is remarkable, but it exists in a protected environment Bird never had. Even the stats tell a deeper story. Bird played only 13 seasons, averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, and over 6 assists on nearly 50% shooting, 38% from 3, and almost 89% at the line. He nearly became the first true 50-40-90 player. He controlled every possession, every rebound became a fast break, every cut had purpose. LeBron's numbers across 21 seasons are spectacular: 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists on 50% shooting, 4 MVPs, 4 championships, and the all-time scoring record. Kareem respects all of that. But his point isn't that LeBron isn't great, it's that Bird captured something psychological, something emotional, that stats can't measure. And that's why Kareem says what he says: Larry Bird didn't just beat you, he haunted you. LeBron is one of the greatest athletes ever, but Bird was the competitor who made legends afraid to compete. And that difference is what still echoes decades later. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar often says that sustaining greatness for 2 decades, the way LeBron James has, requires discipline most players can't even comprehend. But when he looks closer at how the modern NBA functions, he also sees factors that naturally inflate today's numbers in ways people don't always acknowledge. The pace of play is faster now. Teams average around 100 possessions per game, compared to about 95 during Larry Bird's prime, which automatically gives players more chances to score, rebound, and assist. It isn't an indictment of LeBron, it's simply a reality of how the game has evolved. What stands out most to Kareem about Bird isn't just his statistics but his efficiency under extreme pressure. In playoff elimination games, Bird's numbers actually increased. He averaged 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists when the stakes were highest. In Game 7s, he shot over 50% from the field and rarely turned the ball over. To Kareem, that shows Bird didn't need to dominate the ball or pad his stats. He elevated his game exactly when the moment demanded it. LeBron, of course, has had legendary playoff runs. 2012, 2016, and 2020 proved his dominance. But Kareem also remembers stretches where LeBron's efficiency dipped when defenses collapsed the paint and forced him into jump shots. The durability comparison is another area Kareem believes is misunderstood. Bird's career ended at 35 because his chronic back pain made playing nearly impossible. Meanwhile, LeBron is still performing at an all-star level at age 40. At first glance, that might make it seem like LeBron is simply tougher or more committed, but Kareem argues it isn't that simple. The NBA itself has changed dramatically. Players today travel on private jets, sleep in luxury accommodations, receive immediate medical care, benefit from advanced injury prevention techniques, and have more built-in rest throughout the season. Bird played in a rugged era defined by constant physical punishment, minimal recovery time, and far less medical support. To Kareem, the real question isn't who played longer, it's who maximized the environment they were given. And by that measure, Bird's shorter period of dominance still carries enormous significance. What really deepens Kareem's perspective is how greatness is remembered by those who actually competed against it. He believes the truest measure of a player isn't headlines or applause but the respect of other legends, the things they say privately, long after the cameras shut off. And when the greats talk about Larry Bird, the tone changes completely. Magic Johnson admitted Bird was the only opponent who ever made him genuinely nervous. Gary Payton called Bird the coldest, most ruthless trash talker the league had ever seen. Michael Jordan even said Bird was the one player who truly scared him. That isn't myth-making, it's first-hand testimony of psychological dominance. LeBron is respected for his preparation, discipline, and basketball IQ, but he doesn't inspire the same kind of fear. Kareem believes that difference comes from how each player approached competition. Bird used psychological warfare as a weapon. He called his shots, laughed while he buried them, and enjoyed dismantling opponents mentally. LeBron, in contrast, wins through precision and control, studying tendencies until the game bends to his rhythm. Both styles work, but one creates intimidation while the other creates admiration. Kareem has also watched the nature of competition shift over time. Bird's rivals wanted to beat him, they felt a personal obligation to challenge him and withstand his mind games. In LeBron's era, many top players preferred joining forces with him instead of trying to dethrone him. That shift says something about how the definition of success changed. In Bird's time, beating the best was the point. In LeBron's, championships became a collective pursuit, even if it meant forming super teams. Kareem doesn't judge either philosophy, he simply sees them as reflections of different basketball eras. There's also the emotional connection between stars and their cities. Bird didn't just play in Boston, he embodied Boston. His attitude, toughness, and work ethic aligned perfectly with the city's identity. He never needed to chase a new market or reinvent his brand. LeBron, by contrast, built his career through evolution,